Sandy, you look a little different.
Yep, it's been a wild week.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We're adjusting really well to this new life. I love that little boy so much.
Oh,
Yeah.
good to hear.
I bet.
My little April Fool's baby.
Oh, that's wonderful. It is so much fun, isn't it?
It is. It is. I didn't know I could love anything that much.
Yep.
Yeah. There's just stuff that comes out of you when you have a child.
That's for sure.
It just keeps getting better.
That's good news.
Yeah.
Congratulations. I'm really happy for you.
Thank you.
You're gonna love it. Continue to love it. It's such a fun
Congratulations,
experience.
Sandy. Yeah.
Thanks.
There may be some moments that you don't love it, but overall you're gonna love it.
Oh, I imagine.
Oh, don't spoil it yet.
You'll get through those moments. That's what my mom told me. You will get through these moments.
Well, if everyone wants to turn their camera on, I think looks like we've got just about everybody here who I believe is coming tonight. And the mayor is out and Brian von Lossberg is out, so I'm running the meeting tonight. And if for some reason my internet goes out, Ms. Anderson will step in for me, but Murphy's Law, it'll all be fine. So if everyone turns their camera on, city councilors, I'll call a meeting to order. And are we ready to go, Marty?
All systems are go here. Thanks.
Excellent. All right. Good evening. We are convening this meeting, Missoula City Council, for April 5th, 2021. As you can notice, this is a virtual meeting. If you want to attend the meeting by phone, cell phone users can call 253-215-8782. Landline can use the phone number 1-888-475-4499. And the webinar ID number is 871-1768-5875. Password is 027222. You can go to our City of Missoula website for meetings and find all of the information there to join by computer. And you can watch this live on web streaming it, YouTube or Spectrum Cable Channel 190. And you can, of course, always email us or leave a voicemail for City Council. So we will call a meeting to order. And Ms. Rayban, could you do roll call, please?
Okay, Anderson,
Present.
Becerra,
Present.
Contos,
Here.
Harp,
Here.
Jordan Hess is absent, I believe. Jones,
Present.
Merritt,
Present.
Ramos,
Present.
Cheryl,
Present.
Vasika,
Present.
Brian von Lossberg is absent tonight, and West.
Present.
Okay.
Thank you. It looks like we have a quorum. We have minutes from March 22nd, 2021 to approve. Are there any changes to those minutes? Seeing none, those will stand approved. And we have the committee schedule for the week of April 5th, 2021. Ms. Rabine, did you want to go through that?
I would be delighted. Thank you. So we have a fairly full slate of committee meetings this coming Wednesday. That is April 7th. Public Works Committee will lead off the day at 8:45 in the morning and go till 10:45. Public Safety and Health Committee follows from 11 o'clock to 11:15. The Parks and Conservation Committee meets from 11:30 to 11:45. Administration and Finance Committee meets from 12:15 to 12:45. Committee of the Whole meets from 1 o'clock to 1:45. And the Committee of the Whole Appointments Subcommittee meets from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Again, all those meetings are being held on Wednesday, April 7th, in the same format as this particular meeting, a Zoom webinar. In order to find out how what the agenda is for all of these meetings and how to join each one of them, go to the City of Missoula's website. That's www.ci.missoula.mt.us, or you can just Google City of Missoula. It'll be there at the top of your search results. And click on that meetings tab in the middle of the page, and you will find all of the agendas for our virtual public meetings. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Are there any changes to those committee, any additions or changes to the committee schedule from anyone? Seeing none, those will stand. All right, next on our agenda, we have public comment on items not on the agenda. And let me go and see if we have anyone here tonight. We limit that to 3 minutes per person. So we'll start off with Mr. Larson.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, City Council. This is Matt Larson, Ward 3. Wondering where the City Council stands on my unilateral ban from calling any city department or emailing any city department. This ban was in place by Jim Nugent. It was placed upon me by Jim Nugent. Is a limitation of my First Amendment rights. And I just wanted to know what's being done to remedy this situation that I've personally addressed a letter to all of you regarding. This is a huge deal because this doesn't only affect me, this could affect you or any person in the city who is dissenting. And you know, just arbitrarily one person on city council or just within the city government can decide to block them and ban them from contacting anyone. I can't so much as make a parking complaint. I had to call 911 3 times to get my letter. Jim Nugent's unilateral ban is going to continue to cost the city a large sum of money. And I just wondered where everybody on the city council stood on that. Because if Jim Nugent doesn't like my information request, it doesn't give him carte blanche to block me from every single city department and even calling the basic line for MPD. It's ridiculous. And it's going to cost the city a ton of money if it's left unaddressed. So I just want to know what's being done about it. Thank you very much for your time. I'll be chiming in later on agenda items.
Thank you, Mr. Larson. Okay, next we have Ms. Hanson. Are you able to speak, Mrs. Hanson?
Yes.
Great, we can hear you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, this is Rena Hanson. I'm one of the owners of the Ditchstone building down at 305 South 4th Street East. I wanted to at least pop in today. I got a call last week regarding putting underground utilities for the 4th Street project, the REIT that's there from the developer. And I met with the Northwestern Energy just with regards to the impact of it. The developer called and said, well, we can leave it as is, which is fine, or you can contribute $150,000 to the burial of these power lines. And I just wanted to try and understand what happens when the power lines are buried in front of their property and not buried in front of our property down here on 4th Street. And the impact of giving the right-of-way vacation leads to, and this is from Northwestern Energy, the removal of one pole from the Reed site and the need to put 3 more poles on 4th Street. One on the property owner just west of the Reed property, and then 2 more on the property that we have down here on 4th Street, which already has 2 ginormous poles. I think it's important, even in hindsight, to always look at some of these impacts as we do it. I talked with the power company to maintain the status quo of the 2 poles that we have on our property. Instead of having 4 poles, we have to come to the table with another $65,000 just to keep the status quo of what we have here. It's disappointing, frustrating, but I think it's important that you guys are aware that this is out there, that just giving the right-of-way vacation doesn't just affect not only that landowner, but those on the other sides of them. I doubt the goal was to see the riverfront have 1 pole removed to add another 3 big poles down here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hanson. I appreciate the information. Okay, we have another hand raised. Thomas.
Hey guys, thanks for taking my call. Amber and everybody, lovely to see you. I just wanted to address the fun police on amplification permits for outdoor parks.
Right. So, Mr. Thomas, that actually is an agenda item that we will be hearing later on during the meeting. So right now we're taking public comment on items not on the agenda. Do you have something not on the agenda you wanted to address?
Apologies.
Oh, that's all right.
Out of order.
Nope, that's all right. We'll get to it in a little bit though, if you're patient. Thank you. Seeing no one else raising their hand for public comment on items not on the agenda, we will go on to the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are approved by city council committees. They're placed on the consent agenda to save time at council meetings by voting on them as a package. City clerk will read the list aloud so that you know what is on it, and then we will take comments prior to voting. Ms. Rabine.
Thank you. So we have only 5 items on tonight's consent agenda. The first is to ratify claims. Claims are the city's accounts payable, and they're in the amount of $404,182.78 for checks that are dated March 30th of 2021. We didn't meet last week, so those are the claims from last week. Number 2 is the claims or accounts payable from this week, and they are in the amount of $655,182.76, again, for checks that are dated tomorrow, April 6th of 2021. Number 3 is to confirm the mayor's reappointment of Pat McHugh to the Cemetery Board for a term beginning May 1st, 2021 and expiring on April 30th of 2024. Number 4 is to approve and authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with Missoula County and the Invermere Subdivision Homeowners Association for maintenance of dedicated public parklands that are located in that homeowners association. And number 5 is to promote Shane Morrissey from an alternate position to a regular member position on the planning board to fill a board vacancy for a term that begins immediately and ends on December 31st of 2021.
Thank you, Ms. Rabine. Are there any questions or comments from council on the consent agenda? Oh, sorry, let me check here. Seeing none, call for public comment. Mr. Larson's hand is up. Mr. Larson.
Yeah, Mr. Larson, this is Matt Larson, Ward 3. There is 500 bullets, count them, 5 boxes of 100 bullets each for the 223 round being purchased by MPD for $1,700. That's $4 a bullet almost. And the only reason this is relevant is because there's been policy complaints that are being delayed by MPD about their ammo policy and their ammunition being unaccounted for. So you're literally just feeding like this sieve. And I don't know what you're like throwing all this money at during a ammo shortage. And please don't let me hear you make any comments to the effect of denouncing gun violence while you continue to fuel a source of ammunition that could be being sold on the black market as we speak. And it's being delayed by you guys, and you guys are buying them more militarized stuff. You're buying them batons now to beat people in crowds. Like, it's just ridiculous. Like, and $1,700 for 500 bullets is the type of thing that we do not need to be spending money on, in my opinion. And especially if you can't even account for all the bullets that you're buying on a monthly basis and aren't even going through the steps to adequately field a complaint, a policy complaint regarding this. It's absolutely egregious. You're just literally throwing money away. And it's so disappointing. It is very disappointing as a community member, as just a person with a head on their shoulders.
Ms. Anderson?
And so,
Point of personal privilege. I would like to stop the lying and false accusations by this person. They're literally making things up and putting it on public record. Accusing
who's talking? Who's talking right now? Who's
you.
talking right now?
Mr. Larson, let's wrap it up. You've got about 10 more seconds.
I was just interrupted. I don't know. This is just,
Right.
this is totally an example of the complete and utter lying that's going on by you guys. And it's ridiculous to watch. So have
Thank
fun.
you, Mr.
Have fun
Larson.
approving this, rubber stamping this BS.
Thank you, Mr. Larson. Okay, next we had, hang on a second. I have someone else in the queue for public comment.
It's Mr. Perzik.
Mr. Perzik. Can you allow him to, whoops, there we go. It looks like you need to promote Mr. Perzik so that he can speak because he's using an older version of Zoom. And
I just did that. Philip
There we go.
should be joining us here in just a second.
Mr. Perzik, can you hear us and can you speak? Mr. Perzik? Mr. Perzik, I know you had emailed us that you were trying to give public comment today. We're not able to hear you, so I'm going to go on with the meeting. Okay. All right, I think the next item is to vote on the consent agenda, Ms. Rayvine.
Okay, for Philip, I didn't see that there was a microphone that was connected to the meeting. So Philip, you might want to call back in using one of the phone numbers that are on the agenda, or that Miss Jones read off at the beginning of the meeting. Let's do the vote on the consent agenda. We're starting with Anderson.
Yes.
And Becerra. Becerra.
You're muted, Merita.
Yes.
Contos.
Yes.
Herc.
Yes.
Hess is absent. Sorry. Jones.
Yes.
Merritt.
Yes.
Ramos.
Yes.
Cheryl.
Yes.
Vasika.
Yes.
And West.
Yes.
Okay, that is 10 ayes and 2 absent.
Thank you. Next on the agenda are comments from city staff, agencies, boards, commissions, authorities, and community forum. And we have none tonight, is my understanding. Item number 7 is special presentations, and we do have a proclamation I will read regarding Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And if anyone is here to speak regarding this, after I read it, we will go to attendees if there is someone to speak to it. Proclamation, Missoula County and the City of Missoula, whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month, SAAM, also called SAM, calls attention to the fact that sexual violence is widespread and has public health and safety implications for the city and county of Missoula and beyond. And whereas rape, sexual assault, and sexual harassment harm our community, our friends, and our families. Studies show 1 in 5 women and 1 in 67 men will be raped at some point in their lives. 1 in 6 boys and 1 in 4 girls will experience sexual assault before age 18. And on campus, 1 in 5 women and 1 in 16 men are sexually assaulted during their time in college. And whereas statistics can tell us how many people are harmed, but talking to a survivor reveals the true impact of this violence, loss of safety and trust, and sometimes even the loss of hope. And whereas the goal of SAAM is more than awareness, the ultimate goal is prevention of sexual harassment, abuse, and assault. Prevention meaning stopping sexual violence before it happens by changing norms that allow it to exist in the first place, from attitudes, values, and behaviors to laws, institutions, and social norms. And whereas we ask our community to join us in the Strong Alone, Fearless Together campaign and champion the power of asking and receiving consent. Prevention is everyone's job. All of us can help create safe environments. We can intervene to stop behavior, promote healthy attitudes and relationships, believe survivors, and connect them to resources. And whereas we strongly support the efforts of national, state, and local sexual assault prevention and response programs in their efforts to create safe and healthy communities. Now, therefore, we, John Engen, Mayor of the City of Missoula, and Josh Slotnick, Juanita Vero, and Dave Strohmeyer, Missoula County Commissioners, do hereby join the Student Advocacy Resource Center of the University of Montana, the YWCA Missoula, Project Beacon of All Nations Health Center, First Step at Providence St. Patrick Hospital, the Make Your Move Project of the Missoula County Community Justice Department, and communities across the country in playing an active role to prevent sexual violence. Along with the United States government and the state of Montana, we do hereby proclaim April 2021 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in the city of Missoula and Missoula County. Okay, and in terms of commenters, I believe we have Jen Ewell here to comment on this. Jen, are you able to speak?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thanks so much for having me, and thanks so much for reading the proclamation and for your support of Sexual Assault Awareness Month in Missoula. We have a really robust group of co-collaborators this year, and there's more than 20 online events happening. You can learn more both at the University of Montana website, on the SARC website, and also at the Make Your Move website on Missoula County. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Larson, I see your hand up again. We are taking comment on the proclamation. Is that what you are intending to speak to? All right, I'm going to unmute you, but that's...
Hi, yes, I am intending to speak on that. Thank you for your authorization. I'd like to congratulate you guys for actually doing this. This is a great step. I would suggest another great step might be actually identifying the NPD officers who've slain 2 people in the community in the last year. I think it just might be helpful to know who's actively killing people in our community. Might be a priority too. I don't know. That's just me. But thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Harp?
Thanks, Gwen. This is an issue that I think affects almost every one of us in some form or another. The odds are that 1 in 4 women are going to be raped, and that is just too high of odds. When we talk about being able to take care of our own bodies and have a say in what happens to them is paramount to feeling like you have control and agency and you can control your destiny. And when that's ripped away from you because someone else feels like it's theirs, it really is one of the most traumatic experiences in a person's life. Just a couple of days before the end of, before New Year's Eve, one of my good young girlfriends was raped. And at age 15, and it just seems to never stop. So I implore all of you to have those hard conversations with the young men in this world to help explain what it means to be a good, upstanding young man in this world. To do the right thing is hard, but this is something that needs to stop so that we can become the people we want to be. Thank you.
Thank you for the comments, Ms. Harp. Appreciate it. Okay, we are done with the special presentation. We have two public hearings that we are opening tonight. The first public hearing, we do provide, sorry, I'm jumping ahead of myself. We'll have a staff report on each of these public hearings, and we'll have questions from council, and we will invite community comment. These public hearings will be held open until the following week when we will have final consideration. The first public hearing tonight is item 8.1. It's a rezone in the area of Defoe Street, Shakespeare Street, and Burton Street, lots 1 through 10, block 61 of the school edition. And it's a rezone proposed from RT 2.7 to B1-1. And we have Alex here to present. And yes, there you are. Had to find you on my screen. Good evening.
Good evening. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Perfect. And how about slides? Can we see those okay?
Yes.
Good. Great. So thank you so much. My name is Alex Idem. I'm an associate planner with the Permits and Land Use Division of Development Services. And I'm here this evening to go over a rezone request that was submitted by Paul Forsting with IMED Corporation on behalf of the property owners Westside Village LLC. And the rezone request is for several addresses that I won't fully go through, but legally described as lots 1 through 10 in block 61 of the school edition. And the rezone request is to go from RT 2.7 2-unit townhouse to B1-1 neighborhood business. The outlined blue areas where all the subject properties are located. You can see Defoe Street is just to the north. To the east of it, we have Shakespeare Street, and then even further east is Scott Street. On the west side along it is Burton Street, and then over to the side is Russell Street. And to the south, you can see is Toole Avenue and West Broadway. The properties are located in, as we said, RT 2.7 2-unit townhouse zoning district, which is the gray area. So it encompasses basically to the west and the south is all the gray area, RT 2.7, and then to the north and east is M1R-2, which is limited industrial residential zoning district. And again, they are going to be requested B1-1 neighborhood business. So here is a zoning breakdown of the two different zoning districts. I'll go over RT 2.7 first. Is the building types allowed is detached house, 2-unit townhouse, and a 2-unit house. The minimum parcel area is 3,000 square feet, and the area required per unit is 2,700 square feet. The setbacks from the front and the rear are 20 feet. The interior side is 5 feet, and then the street side is 10. The maximum height in this area is 30 or 35 feet, depending on the roof pitch. The units per acre allowed is up to 16, and specifically the subject properties are about 38,985 square feet, which would allow for about 14 dwelling units. The B1-1 zoning district allows for all building types. So single purpose residential, mixed use, 2-unit, 1-unit, 3-unit townhouses, and even a multi-dwelling building structure. The minimum parcel area is 3,000 square feet here as well. The big difference though is there's only 1,000 square feet required per unit. And since this property wouldn't be abutting any residential district, the setbacks are not required in this area for the parcel. The maximum height could be up to 40 feet, and the unit allowed per acre is going to be 43. So again, specific to the subject property's parcel size, they could have up to 38 dwelling units on this property. So for the growth policy map, it's located in the orange area, which is neighborhood mixed use land use designation. And this land use designation is intended to distinguish, create, maintain, and enhance areas that already provide local services within a neighborhood. It's also intended to promote uses such as retail, eating and drinking, offices, medium to high residential density. The current relatable zoning districts for the land use designation is B1-1, which is being requested, and that's the neighborhood business. There's B2-1 and B2-2, and that's community business. And the last one's M1R-2 for the limited industrial residential. All of these current relatable zoning districts permit a variety of commercial uses and allow high residential density of up to 43 dwelling units per acre. And off to the west side of the property is the green area, and that's the residential medium high density. So the growth policy calls for a focused inward approach to encourage infill development in urban core where infrastructure already exists, and to promote mixed use and increase in density and enhanced connectivity while limiting sprawl and promoting efficient use of existing infrastructure. So on the right-hand side, we have a map of the area. Again, the properties are outlined in blue. 2 blocks south of there is Lowell Grade School. Adjacent to that is the West Side Park. Even further from there south is Toole Avenue and West Broadway, which is, as we know, a mix of many commercial uses. And specifically, in the bottom right-hand corner is the white structure. That's the Missoula Fresh Market, and that's about a half mile away from the subject properties. And then off to the left is a snip of the mountain line map. The properties are outlined in the little star area. 2 blocks south is the Mountain Line Route 2, which is along Phillips Street, and there are several stops along that. South of there is the Route 11 and 14 along West Broadway, and there's a stop about half a mile from the subject properties. And along Scott Street is the Mountain Line Route 3, and there's another bus stop that's about a half mile away. Here's what the properties look like, various snaps from Defoe Street, Burton, and Shakespeare. As you can see, there's a lot of really mature boulevard landscaping, with the exception of the bottom left is off along Shakespeare Street, which there's not quite as much boulevard landscaping in that area, but these are the current situation. Here's a preliminary design of what's being proposed. Consistently at about 24 units is being proposed at this time with a mix of detached houses and 2 to 4 unit townhouses in different variety. But again, with just about 24 units at this point in time. So the review criteria for a zoning amendment has to comply with the following. And the first one is complies with the growth policy. And the requested zoning of B1-1 more closely aligns with the growth policy recommended density than the current RT 2.7 zoning district. The second review criteria is facilitates public services and transportation. The rezoning is in an area that's served by public walkways, public transit, water and sewer, public roads, and public schools. The third is to promote compatible urban growth. The rezone will facilitate a mixed use of development in these areas. The fourth, to promote public health and safety. The rezoning is providing development and an increase in development in areas with the existing emergency services, including law enforcement and fire protection. And the last one is to consider district character and sustainability of use. The rezoning considers character because the B1-1 neighborhood business zoning district allows the same building types as the existing surrounding areas and access to urban infrastructure and services. So this project was brought to the planning board on March 16th, and the planning board recommended approval of the rezone with a vote of 8 yeses and 0 no's. The planning board discussion was focused on neighbors' concerns with increase in density, while also reminding attendees that the basis for the vote they were taking was primarily to determine if the proposed density allowed by zoning change was in line with the adopted growth policy recommendations. So the planning board recommends approval because the request is in line with the growth policy's land use designation goals and policies. Staff recommended motion is to approve the adoption of an ordinance to rezone the subject properties, legally described as lots 1 through 10 and block 61 of the school edition, from RT 2.7 2-unit townhouse to B1-1 neighborhood business. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Council, any questions? Ms. West.
Thanks. During our committee meeting, I think you gave a really great explanation of why this B1 zoning designation was picked over the light industrial, which is present just a block away. And I was just wondering if you could repeat that because I thought it was really informative and had gave some really good context to why the zoning designation is what they're asking for.
Yes, so initially, when the requests came in to change the zoning, I'll just pull it up real quick. They did request to change this subject properties to M1R-2, which is the pink area that's right next to this location. In further discussion, though, it was determined that there is already kind of an industrial area adjacent to in the pink areas, but that's not necessarily an industrial area that needs to be expanded more into the residential. So it was proposed by planning staff to go to B1-1 for a multiple of reasons. One, to eliminate the industrial uses allowed, and then secondly, it would eliminate, or not eliminate, but reduce the maximum allowed height for future purposes. So the B1-1 is more limited height than all the other relatable zoning districts.
Thank you. Ms. Merritt?
Hi, thanks, Alex. I think you did a great job covering all of that. And we did receive several public comments, and a lot of them were more around what's going to be built on the site. And of course, that's not what we are deciding tonight. And I recognize that. But I would, we got some preliminary plans from the developer of what they're planning on. And I'm wondering if I could ask, so of what they have shown us, of what their plans are, have they provided enough parking, or just based on what they've shown you? Because that was one of the questions that was brought up by one of the members of the public.
At this point, thank you for your question. The site plan is mostly what I've seen at this point. The parking will depend on the exact square footage of each unit. So it's a little unclear if they're meeting it at this point, but any future development, they would need to meet all the off-street requirement at that time. So we would ensure through building permit that all of it was off-street.
So, Gwen, can I clarify real quick on that? So they will need to meet all of those off-street requirements for parking?
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
Great. Ms. Cheryl?
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Alex. And I think my question is a little bit along what Julie was getting at. I mean, we're not deciding exactly what's going to be built tonight, but I know that in the committee meeting, there was a difference in what dwelling units, how many dwelling units were going to be allowed and what the builder thought they were going to build. Could you recap on that? And I realize this is not what we approve is what can be built, but do you mind recapping that a little bit for us, Alex?
Yes, correct me if I didn't understand your question. So they could have up to, if this was approved, 38 dwelling units on the site. They are proposing 24. I know the applicant mentioned, again, I'm not sure the exact parking situation because we don't know the unit size, but Paul Forsting, the applicant representative, mentioned that if they go greater than 24 units, they're going to have to do a pretty big interior parking lot redesign, which would take up a lot more space. So it sounds like they're pretty set to sticking to the 24 units at this point in time.
Thank you.
Great. Were there any other questions from council? I thought I saw a hand up. Ms. Becerra.
I have poor internet connection, so go on without me if you can't hear me. I just wanted to ask say this is approved, what would be the next place for community or neighborhood involvement? Is there anything for neighborhood involvement during the building permit approval process, or how can they continue to be engaged?
From the planning staff perspective in Title 20, unless they chose to do a development that triggered a conditional use for the allowable uses, that would trigger then public hearing process. Unless if it was all permissible, though, allowed uses within the Title 20, they were good, that there would be no more public process.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions from council? All right, seeing none. Mr. Larson, I see your hand is raised. We are taking public comment on this specific rezone. And you can speak.
Thank you. This is Matt Larson, Ward 3. Wondering what the implications are for the infrastructure of these 24 units on, let's say, the waste processing, or let's say the water, and what's the status of those things right now? I believe, if I recall, there were adjacent landowners that had concerns about the infrastructure being able to service even the limited handful of homes that were on this area, like this block or half a block right now. Just curious about that. Yeah, curious about inclusionary zoning. Was there any inclusionary zoning that was going to be a part of this, or is that just for only certain projects? And then just curious about, yeah, like I said, the parking seems to be why wouldn't you impose some sort of requirement right now like you have in Title 20? It's just antithetical to creating a sustainable community here. When you start making rules and then arbitrarily not filling them out or gutting, and that's kind of how the place to call home came to us. It came to us as a plan where this is all supposed to be accounted for, and we were going to take into account parks and recreation and parking and all these things. But now it just doesn't really seem like it's a thing anymore that's important to anybody on the city council. And it's really, again,
So,
sad and
Mr. Larson,
disappointing.
we're discussing
Hey,
the
do
merits
not
of
cut me
this
off right now.
rezone.
I'm continuing. Can you please
We're
allow me to
discussing
speak?
the merits of this rezone here. If you want
I'm
to
discussing the
rezone.
merits of this rezone as well, and I'd appreciate it if you'd allow me to speak as a human. Thank you very much. I know I'm just a mere mortal down here, but I'm speaking up and praying to all those in their ivory towers that they actually make sensible decisions when it comes to the planning of our city. And it seems as though that's a tall order. But thank you for allowing me to speak. And I do feel a little disrespected when I'm interrupted twice now while I'm speaking. It's ridiculous, the entitlement levels that are apparently
Mr.
standard
Larson,
at the
this
city
is
council.
comment on the rezone. Okay, Mr. Forsting, Paul Forsting is here, and I'm sorry I didn't go to you earlier. I didn't see you in the queue there. Are you able to speak? Paul?
I am. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
No worries.
I didn't get you in there earlier, but we're with you now. So I know you
Okay.
wanted to speak to this project. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yep. Paul Forsting, IMEG Corp. I'm a land use planner, and I'm helping the applicant with the rezone application. I'm here today with also here virtually is Kent Means, the project architect from MMW, and then the owners of Westside Village LLC, Rebecca, Chrissa, Libby, Veldy. They're also here today with us, and they can explain questions maybe that I can't if we get into some details. A couple things I wanted to point out. One is that we did have a neighborhood meeting on this project. That's not a rezone requirement. That's just something we wanted to do to get ahead of the project and to make sure everybody in the area was noticed. That notice did go out to the adjacent landowners, and it also went out to neighborhood groups, council members from this ward were also notified. And so we did have that notice, and we did do that in July. That's when we had started the application, and it took to this point to get to this hearing. And so that's why there's the distance there between July and now. This is an infill project. It complies with the growth policy. We're near the school and Westside Park. We're also near the Freestone Climbing Gym. That's adjacent to the northeast of us, the Clay Studio and the Missoula Fine Arts Studio. So it is a funky little area. It's got mixed. It's already got mixed uses. We've got public transportation. We're near emergency services, and so for a lot of those reasons, it went into the planning board's support of our project and then the planning staff support of our project. I did have some quick exhibits to show you. Would it be possible to show my screen?
Yes, if you can trigger that to show your screen, that would be great.
Okay. Is
Mr.
it?
Kirsting, I will promote you to panelist. It's gonna look like you disappeared for just a second, but you'll pop over as a panelist. Hang on.
All right. I'll take it. Okay, dokie. Thank you for that. And I can share my screen now. I just had a couple slides here to show you. Not much more. This first is just an updated photo of the site. You can see the site's in transition now. This was given to me by the property owner. They just wanted to show that they have started moving some of the units off the site and started some of the cleanup of it. And so it does look a little different than it might have looked in the past in some of the other photos. This is a good. These are photos of another project that the property owner worked on with the architect. It's very similar to what we want to construct here. You can see the kind of the narrow style buildings. One thing that we do want to point out is that we will have different roof styles. We will have different colors. So it's not identical to what's going to be proposed, but it does bear the same look. And we have an updated site plan. This is the one we showed to the planning board, and it's very, very similar to the site plan that Alex had. What you'll see here is just more connected units, creating fourplexes where we had detached units, but it's almost identical. The same number of units, we have 24. The plan is to go with 24 units. We've provided enough parking spaces for those 24 units off the alley. There is quite a bit of parking surrounding the property that we're not taking credit for, that around the streets. With this area is one of those unique residential areas that has some kind of angled parking, I guess you'd call it, or it's not really striped, but it's not your traditional parallel parking surrounding this property. But this is our site plan, and so it looks a lot like the last site plan that Alex showed, and the client's wants to move full speed ahead on it. So there isn't, I'm not concerned about a different unit type or a different number of units being proposed, just based on my confidence in this project and what I've been told, but there always is that potential. And the last thing I'd show you is just a rendering. This is a quick rendering that the architect prepared. It's really preliminary, but it shows kind of how it might fit into the site. This is just preliminary, so don't want to get maybe too focused on it, but it does do a good job of showing how it might look. They want to do, the goal is to be 2 stories, to have front porches facing the street. They want to do very quality units. They're going to have varying colors. It's going to be designed to integrate into the neighborhood as much as possible. And so with that, I'll stop sharing my screen, and I'll take comments and help address any questions that come up.
Thank you. Anyone else from the developer that wanted to speak? Otherwise, I did have a couple questions from council. Ms. Merritt.
I'm sorry to double dip. But since we have Paul here, so Paul, are you anticipating that we're going to get curb and gutter all around this site? Okay, I figured that was part of it, but I just wanted to clarify. And are we going to be able to save any of those trees that are on this site?
I believe so. Yes, I believe that's one of the primary goals, is to keep the existing vegetation as much as possible. They actually show up on our site plan as kind of incorporated into the site. So
excellent.
Yes, that's my understanding. We're going to try to save as much as possible.
Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Harp.
You really took my 2 questions, but I'll take an opportunity then
to just comment, Paul. It's really nice to be able to have some visuals. And like you said, I know they're preliminary, but it really helps to take, I think, a little bit of that fear factor out of what's to come. I think just having some past examples of what you've done, what the developer has done before, I think really just kind of helps calm some fears. And then I did have one comment that you might want to pass along. I know last time I asked you what the expected rent was going to be for these units, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you said $1,200 per month.
That's my understanding, but I might defer to the applicant, because they would actually know better if we wanted to get maybe a little bit updated version of what that might be.
Yeah, and I was kind of curious to know if that was anticipating increases in building material costs as well, if that was being included in that.
Gosh, well, I don't know that it is, but that all comes to play at the end of, when they go to rent them. I think they have to factor that in.
Great. Any other questions from council? Seeing none, thank you, Paul, and sorry for skipping over you, but appreciate the information. In terms of public comment, we had one more person who wanted to give public comment on this topic, Ms. Veld. Are you able to speak?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
I just wanted to address that last thing. This is Chris. I'm with Westside Village. And as far as rent is concerned, we're just going to charge as little as we can given the cost of the project because the market is kind of crazy. So we just want to be realistic.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I don't see any other hands raised. Mr. Larson, your hand is raised, but we already took public comment from you on this item. This public hearing will remain open through this coming Monday, and people can send in emails or leave voicemails or give public comment a week from tonight also on this item. So we will keep that item open, and seeing no other questions from council, no other public comment, we'll go to the next item. Thank you again for presenting on this. Paul, Alex, Krista, thanks for coming tonight. Next item is 8.2, ordinance amending Missoula Municipal Code Title 12, Section 12.40.065 to require a sound amplification permit in community parks. And I believe Shirley Kinsey is here to present on this tonight. There she is.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. So a little background on this proposed ordinance. Historically, we've had an amplification sound permit as a Parks and Recreation policy for the last at least the last 26 years. In addition, the section 2.5 of the master fee schedule titled Amplified Sound is adopted by resolution each year through public process and hearing. So in June of 2019, chapter 12.40, the city park ordinances were amended and adopted, but the sound amplification was overlooked at that time, and it wasn't included in the adopted ordinances. So therefore, this ordinance would amend 12.40 to create a subsection within 12.40.065, which establishes that a permit's required for sound amplification in or on Missoula parks, trails, or conservation lands that allow for amplified sound. So in general, a little background, the amplification permit itself helps regulate when, where, how long, and how loud amplified sound can happen in the parks. It mostly applies for large public events that happen in community parks, such as band concerts or musical performances. Sometimes tournaments do a lot of announcing. So really those in community parks at those larger events. For the neighborhood parks, we don't issue amplification permits. In these smaller parks, there's generally no buffer between the parks and the residential housing. And so in the neighborhood parks, noise in general is complaint driven, meaning law enforcement would respond only if there was a noise complaint. Most folks in and around that use neighborhood parks are very considerate. And I believe they understand that the close proximity of the houses to the park require a lower sound if you are going to plug in a Bluetooth or turn on a radio. So if they do play music at their gatherings in a neighborhood park, the volume such that residents just generally don't complain. I've received very few noise complaints over the years from use in neighborhood parks. The complaints that I have received are pretty serious. So this ordinance would provide a tool to law enforcement to help protect the rights of other park users, as well as those living near city parks. And I think just to kind of wrap up the presentation, I think the actual city noise ordinance states it best when it says, every person in the city is entitled to live in an environment where ambient noise level is not detrimental to life, health, and the enjoyment of your property. So I'll take any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Shirley. And my understanding, and that's exactly what you said, is this has been on the books for decades. It just inadvertently left off, so we just need to clean it up and get it back on there. But it's an infrequently used tool, but when we need it, we do need it. Okay, I had some questions here, Ms. Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Shirley, just wanted to reiterate that this, the permit itself, I realize that we are cleaning up something that has been on the books for 25 plus years, but it, if you are wanting to do a band concert or something in a park, if there's a cost associated with this permit, and does who basically approves the permitting process? Could you walk us through that? It's not, I want to make sure, the question I'm trying to get at is not adding another layer of big brothering over it. It's just the process that has been used previous is what we're trying to add back to the books.
Right. There is a fee associated with the permit. I just read it off, so let me look at that up really quick. It is $48 a day. And we have an application process that you just fill out the application and send it in, and we review it and normally issue the permit. We have some sideboards at some of the different parks that are a little bit stricter than other parks. Fort Missoula has the least amount of restrictions because of all the land surrounding, providing that big buffer. I would say that Bonner Park has the tightest sideboards on the amplification permit. But that's driven from meetings with the neighborhood and the people that live adjacent to that hybrid kind of community neighborhood park. They get it all summer long. So.
Thank you. Any follow-up, Stacy, or no? Looks like no. Ms. Cheryl.
Thanks, and thanks, Shirley. Could you speak to, other than, I mean, we just talked about the fee, but the differences in the updated, the updating of the ordinance as opposed to what it was before 2019 when we failed to update? Like, what are the changes in this ordinance?
It actually wasn't part of the ordinance then. And when we revised and added everything that we wanted into the rewrite on the ordinance, we just totally forgot to add amplified sound.
Okay, may I have a follow-up, Gwen?
Go ahead.
So I'm just trying to highlight any changes of what we've done for 26 years and what we're doing now. So will you just kind of highlight any changes?
The only change would be that the police would have a tool that they could use to help protect other park users and or city residents if there's noise complaints.
Thank you.
Ms. Merritt.
Hi, Shirley. Thanks for your work on this. I find that the language that's proposed kind of confusing. And we talked about this in committee, and you and Susan Auberg and I had exchanged emails. And I thought we were going to revise that language, but what is attached to the agenda item is still the original language.
Oh, and I went in and changed it. I did it. Maybe I changed it wrong. I guess I should have.
Gwen, do you mind if I read the language that Shirley and the city attorney Susan Auberg and I had communicated about?
Sure. Why don't you read that into the record? Would that work, Shirley?
Yeah.
And I just had it in front of me.
Sorry about that. I went in and deleted the old language and added the new one that we agreed on.
Marty, maybe it's a failure on my part. I don't know if you can check, but the attachments to this agenda item, attachment number 2 is the proposed language. So here was the language that that Shirley and Susan and I had communicated about. So it's basically, it says the same things, just in my mind makes it a little more clear. Amplified sound is prohibited in Missoula parks with the exception of the listed community parks, Bonner Park Bandshell, Fort Missoula Regional Park, Playfair Park, McCormick Park, Silver Park, Caris, Bess Reed, BN Plaza, and Rose Memorial Park, and any other park designated by the Parks and Rec director or his or her designee. An amplified sound permit is required in the listed parks and may be obtained for the use of public address, PA systems, or stereo systems. I'm wondering if we can substitute that language that I just read for, or do I need to make a motion to that effect, Gwen?
Well, was that, Shirley, is that the language that you had intended to put forward?
Yes, I went into the eScribe and deleted the old, the other document and added that document that she just read.
Okay.
So maybe it was maybe it was me. I didn't do it right.
Okay, so I think it's on the record by having read it into the record tonight, and then when the motion is made a week from tonight, it needs to be that language.
Okay.
So
I'll check to see what I did wrong.
Shirley, please send it to me. This is Marty. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Marty.
Okay. And then I guess I had one question also, if I may, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Shirley, the language also doesn't specify how someone goes about obtaining one of these permits. And I don't know if that is typical in our other ordinances for things that require permits. If we have like, and you can go to the Parks and Rec website to find out how to do that.
You can. The website is pretty self-explanatory. You can download a application on the website, and
I just wonder if we should say that in the ordinance language, or if that's I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at Jim's tile, even though Jim Nugent can't tell that I'm looking at his tile, and wondering if he wants to weigh in on that.
Jim, are you able to unmute?
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
Now, specifically, what did you want to?
I guess my question is, since the language that we're putting into the ordinance says that a permit is required, would it be appropriate for us to say in the ordinance how, at least to direct people, what website to go to apply for the permit? Is that something that we would typically do with other ordinances that cause people to go get permits?
I don't think we specifically put that into all the ordinances, although there's no reason to not put it in. I think Marty, in the way she manages the city website and the access to those items, might be better able to explain why or why not, but I don't see any problem putting that in the ordinance, except if things change, you have to change your ordinance. If the site changes, you'll have to go back into your ordinance to change the ordinance again. So sometimes, and Marty and I have discussed this several times over the years, you want to try and avoid things that you don't actually need to put into the ordinance, just so you don't have to amend the ordinance if there's some administrative change.
Thanks, Jim. Yeah, basically it's a phone call to the city, and I think they're going to be directed to who to contact for a permit. So did you have anything else, Julie, that you wanted to add?
Oh, well, it looked like maybe Marty wanted to add something there, and I think that might shed some light.
Okay, Marty?
Yes, thank you. I'm the host, so I can't raise my hand. So it's like this kind of hand. So the city clerk office keeps ordinances forever. That it's a permanent record. So you can think about us keeping it for 300 years. And if we put a website in an ordinance, that reference is going to be meaningless in about 10, because we'll probably have a new website. And definitely we'll probably move the permit somewhere else. So saying that a permit is going to be issued in the ordinance by the Parks and Rec Department is enough to get people to the Parks and Rec Department and to the permitting systems that we have set up for as long as this ordinance is on the books and as long as we keep it. So
thanks, Marty. Appreciate it.
That makes sense.
Okay. Ms. Harp.
Marty might want to come back on. So I think what Julie was getting at was a really novel idea, because what people also don't want to be in the position of is doing something they didn't know was against an ordinance. So how do we inform the public? Is it just through signage in a park about whether or not they can do certain types of things like amplified music?
Shirley, I'm going to toss that one to you because you guys deal with the enforcement of city park rules all the time.
Okay. I'm not really sure how to answer that. You know, we do have all of our policies online and on our website. Anytime anyone calls and asks about use of a park, we explain everything to them. We do the 20 questions over and over and over and over again every single day. So we try to educate when people call. So it's, I guess if it would require people to reach out and ask specific questions. And normally when people are planning events, they do reach out and they know that there's a permitting process, or they find out what the permitting process is to reserve a space and make sure that they have a place where they can invite people to. Otherwise, just general use of the parks, I think people just tend to be courteous, and especially in neighborhood parks. Like I said, I've gotten very few complaints over the years coming out of neighborhood parks, but you know, there's been several occasions when they've been fairly serious, and we haven't been able to help these people. So
thanks, Shirley. Appreciate that. And Jim Nugent. You're muted still, Jim.
Okay. I just wanted to point out that typically and generally the way it's always been handled administratively with respect to ordinances other than the ordinances enforced by the police is a warning or an educational informational item that is given to the party that might be in violation of an ordinance. However, if you'd feel more comfortable, you could put in the ordinance the expectation or the requirement that they have to be warned or put on notice first, and that it's the subsequent offense that will pose the potential violation and require that someone potentially issue a citation. But generally with all ordinances historically, the city administrations have not wanted to be hard-nosed with respect to people who might have no idea about an ordinance provision. They want to give them an opportunity to be informed and educated, and then if they make a violation, it would be pursued potentially in prosecution.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate that. Ms. Vasika.
Thanks. Are there any reasons why a permit would be denied? Like, for example, if the city didn't agree with the group that was applying for the permit, or are there reasons like that?
No, we don't discriminate. So where there are amplification permits, we've generally had a wide array of requests. So I would say that the only one that may be questionable is if it was questionable content.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no other questions, this is opening the public hearing, and we have some public comment queued up. It looks like Shane. Let's get you so that you can.
Yes, hello.
Yes, I'm not sure what your name is from, but go ahead. You can speak.
Yes, hi, my name is Shane Rooney, also known as Missoula's Professor of Fun. I'm grateful to have this opportunity to chime in here on this. Thank you guys all for prodding to try to get more clarity to this measure, which, and Shirley, after hearing you speak a bit, I'm almost left seeking more clarity than before. In terms of amplified sound in small parks, a Bluetooth little speaker that most teenagers, children and adults have technically is amplified sound. A public address, a PA system with subwoofers, is also amplified sound. So I'm wondering, what are we really going at? And with the push to bring this up at this time, is that indicative of more of the intentions of the city right now to quiet things? We've also put there hasn't been much of an issue here. So I'm mostly just worried that the citizens of Missoula, will be less ready to be neighbors to each other and to say, hey, buddy, you mind turning that down? Or, hey, I'm offended by that word that I'm hearing coming out of your speaker, because I'm raising this child that you see with me here. We live over here. Where do you live? And being neighbors. And there has been mention about, the police's new shiny billy clubs, and all this. We, here nor there, I just kind of urge us to be wary of more push for measures that just prevent more community from happening. Whether it be someone who is enjoying the music that once stranger was playing, and they say, oh, hey, you like Lil Nas X? I like Lil Nas X. Well, you live on this street, so do I. Missoula's great for that. Also, a lot of these small parks have those musical instruments that I play regularly that are not amplified, but you can hear throughout the whole park. And I bring groups of children, groups of adults as well to play in the parks. And when we're amplified, just when we're amped, we're loud. Do we want silent parks? And if it's a nuisance to have noise in parks, like as dogs maybe were a nuisance at one point, and then we went and created the dog park. Maybe if whatever the intentions are, if it is too quiet, the parks, I might suggest that we make a noisy park, or have noise-friendly parks. And I would also urge that we make the permitting for this free and easily available for all these teenagers that have boom boxes that may not be as eloquent or as apt to be speaking with an angry person who's used to the park being quiet, to just not have trouble be found from them just trying to live their Missoula life.
We are over 3 minutes. We allow
Sweet.
3 minutes for everyone.
Thank
in
you
order
guys
to-
for your
Thank
time
you
and everything you do.
for your comments. We appreciate it. Thank you. I have S. Taylor. You can unmute yourself and it's 3 minutes.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for your time.
Yes, right. Yeah.
We'll have just a couple of questions as far as the ordinance goes. I'm wondering if with this permit, if this is going to follow the excessive noise and noise ordinances already allowed within the city, such as there's already acceptable decibel levels that you can have within public spaces. And I'm wondering if it's going to follow those same rules. Because I know you're allowed to have excessive noise in some of the industrial zones, more so than the residential. And I'm wondering where this is going to fall, where parks will fall under that jurisdiction. And then my second point with this is I do agree with the previous speaker that I believe that a permit fee does create a barrier of accessibility for either people of lower income or perhaps younger people that just don't have $48 to spend. And I'm concerned that there could be a creation of bias within if perhaps someone just doesn't like the genre of music you're playing. It could not even be obscene, but it could be just the genre of music they don't like. And I'm concerned they could start abusing this permit system by calling the police. And I'd just be concerned about the police not having the specifics of what they could and could not enforce. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Next, I have Thomas.
Oh boy, 3 minutes. I've never done 3 minutes in my life. Okay, I will try. Just because this language was omitted and it was 25-year-old language is not a reason to put it back. There are a lot of laws and a lot of languages that are not needed anymore. It sounds like Shirley needs a tool. Hi, Shirley. Sounds like the tool is already there. I thank Shirley for pointing out the ordinance that the city already has and the measures that they do to use for the police. And once I have a permit, I'm free to violate whatever I need. So this is a terrible revenue creation stream. And I think the language is really poorly written. I'm violating this law right now by being in a park on a phone with Bluetooth in this meeting right now. This meeting is a violation if this were to go through the way it was written. I understand the intent. I think the tool is already there and there's no reason to obfuscate. What problem are we trying to solve? On one hand, there are no complaints. And on the other hand, there are complaints that are really, really bad. Well, I think that the Missoula, I love our cops. I think they can do it. I don't think they need another reason to do this. And giving somebody a permit just enables them to be more offensive. Hey, I've got a permit. I can do whatever I want. It's my free speech. I really think this is best left the way it is with being good Missoulians to each other. We have wonderful police force. They already have the tool. There's no extra tool that's needed. And there's no way Parks and Rec is going to enforce this themselves. I think if they needed it enforced, they'd call the cops anyway. And the cops, we have a wonderful police force. Can we trust them, or do we need to write more rules for our police force? I would go on for years, but I just don't think that because the language was left out, I think that was probably a good thing. A lot of language should be left out for some stuff. The world's moved on. Technology has arrived. Just try to be a common sense, good person, and less is more. I yield. Oh, did I go under 3 minutes? Somebody tell me I went under 3 minutes.
You had about 35 seconds left.
No, I want a medal. I want a medal.
For your comments. All right. Next person, we have John Hundley. If you're able to unmute yourself. Whoops, hang on a second. Okay. Are you able to unmute yourself, Mr. Hundley?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Cool, thanks. Hi, so I just wanted to share a quick story with you guys. Last year in April, around this time, I went down to Caras Park and just went down to Brennan's Wave to see the wave and feel some peace. And it was a really hostile environment. Tons of tension in the air. I don't know if you guys walked around downtown kind of at the beginning of lockdown. There was just a lot of hostility. And so I thought, like, how can I make this space better? And the one tool that I have is I'm a professional musician. And so I immediately went home that same day and brought down a little sound system and started playing music. There was a group of homeless men that were sitting on the side of one of those hills with a sign that said something offensive against women. And they were commenting on like the young girls that were walking by, and just the energy in that area was really negative. And as soon as I started playing music, the energy changed. I play super melodic, beautiful kind of lounge music. And after that, I started going down there every Thursday night to play music. And every time I would show up, people would get happy. The whole place would fill with beautiful music, and people enjoyed that. And I don't know whether or not there should be a permit, but I tend to think probably not, because it would dissuade people like me from going down and making some place better with the tools that I have. Also, I do think the $48 fee per day for somebody like me, like just an individual playing music in the park, would be a bit excessive. So I would like there to be some sort of waived fee for somebody who would want to do a repeat thing. I don't really know. It just seems like you said that there's no difference between 25 years ago. Has there always been a $48 fee? Like, has there always been this application process? I'm sort of confused. It just kind of like everyone else who's spoken. Anyways, my desire is for the flourishing of Missoula. I absolutely love Missoula, and I want to see the city do well. And I do appreciate all of you staying up in your evenings listening to us prattle on. And so I would just request that people with the common good of the city in mind could be given free access to this permit. I don't know what that would look like, but whether it passes or not, I'll be giving you guys a call and finding out if I can do that. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Next we have Teague. If you're able to unmute yourself, there you go, 3 minutes.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Hello, everybody. My name is Teague. I'm a local musician. Just started playing music last year, and I know John, the commenter who just spoke before, and he's absolutely right. Since I became a musician around here, I would say that it's really opened my eyes to part of Missoula that's really amazing, and that is, you know, a lot of the local artists, but everybody is small. You know, I mean, we're all, you know, I think the fee is definitely restrictive just for local artists. And, you know, my concern when it comes to an ordinance like this is, I understand the intent. Everybody always has amazing intentions, you know, when they do something like this, but when the wording is can be instead of shall be, you know, concerns me. Anytime something you know, can be abused, it usually is abused on some level to certain people, depending on, you know, it happens every time, basically. You know, I know that there's going to be people who, like John, will try to play in the park, and they'll have to pay $48. And if they don't, then a cop's going to come down and write them a ticket. You know, that's going to happen. And so for me, that hurts Missoula and the soul of Missoula, which is art and vibes and music and all that kind of stuff. You know, I disagree with this ordinance. I don't think that it's a good thing for Missoula. I understand, you know, some of the other side of what you guys are saying, but I just think that it is restrictive and it will be abused on some level to certain people. That's just the way, I mean, people are enforcing it. And so people abuse, you know, even good people with the best intentions, you know, and the people that have to enforce this stuff are still just humans. And so, you know, it's gonna hurt Missoula. You know, that's just what I believe. And, you know, I hope you guys don't do it. You know, I think that, you know, the tools that you guys have available, the police force and all this kind of stuff, you know, I think it's enough. I think everything's going pretty good right now. If there's, you know, like she said, got a few complaints, you know, so why are we creating a whole ordinance over a couple of complaints, you know? So I just say we don't do this and, you know, keep Missoula, keep the soul of Missoula.
Thank you. That is 3 minutes. I appreciate your comments. Mr. Larson. 3 minutes and we are on this topic.
Oh, thank you. Yes, this is Matt Larson, Ward 3 again. It's just utterly mind-boggling seeing you guys volley around questions about how and when this magical new, completely new side of city ordinance has been formed, and how it existed before, and how there's no explanation from anyone. You know, there's these severe incidences that are cited by Shirley, but they aren't really cited by date or time or anything specific in any sort of nature that's meaningful. And again, where did the $48 come from? How did we magically land at $48? Caras Park right now, I mean, costs $970. So now does it cost $1,000, you know, over $1,000 a day now? And it's so indicative of the frustrations the Missoulians feel with their city government when stuff like this money grab by the Parks Department is just cooked up and shoved down our throats. Like, there's just no evidence of it ever being passed before. If so, please cite when the last update of this ordinance happened. I'm looking at the application right now for Caras Park, and it mentions the sound ordinance that already exists and makes no mention of anything having to do with the sound permit. So like the foundation that this has always existed is just utterly false, and it's just been proven by even more by this dialogue. Again, cite when this was last updated, and if it was last updated, like, you don't. It's so mind-boggling. The clerk just told us that it doesn't make any sense to put the website for the application in the ordinance because this is a record. It survives in perpetuity. It's a record. Like, sound ordinance isn't even enforced by Missoula at large unless it's against citizens in the first place. There's huge events where there are unsafe monitoring levels at various private establishments, such as the Topette, such as the Wilma. There's outdoor festivals, such as River City Roots Festival, where there are huge violations in regards to the sound levels that are safe for humans to listen in. It's causing damage already, and the city purports that they're being the stewards of these parks. It's not. It's an impedance of people's rights. It takes 4 weeks for the regular applications to be processed, and it's going to end up costing our city more than it brings in. It's just mind-boggling. And furthermore, I can just park in my car next to the park and blast out the entire park, and there's nothing you can do except with the current existing and old sound ordinance. It's not even enforced with mufflers. It's not enforced in numerous fashions as it exists currently. And it's definitely not checked up on by the police.
Thank you, Mr. Larson. That's been 3 minutes. Appreciate your comments. We have Mr. Harrell, Todd Harrell next, I believe. If you're able to unmute yourself, Mr. Harrell.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name's Todd Harrell. I am a resident of Missoula. I work for a nonprofit in town, and this came onto my radar a couple weeks ago and found out about it. And initially reading the ordinance was concerned by how vague the language was. And hearing these comments tonight, am even more concerned with how vague the language is. And especially hearing that this was not really a complained about issue, and that there were a few serious complaints. And I'm curious what serious complaints are, if there is some type of example of what serious means in regards to noise ordinance violations, or in this case, in public parks. I'm just so yeah, that's my first point. My second would be the concern of giving the police more protection in enforcing these laws, and why do they need that? Why does this need to become an issue in police enforcement? And if it is, I guess it's understandable. Police enforcement could be involved if within reason, but it's to the point where it's just becoming, I think Shane made a point earlier of losing that community interaction of one another, of, instead just turning to the police, and then having this become not only a problem for them, potentially a legal problem for someone who may have to pay fines, or what's going to be the punishment for violating this permit. I don't think that's laid out at all, because I haven't heard that personally. And I'm just kind of curious about, someone who violates this permit, if this does pass, what that would look like. And I think the final point I would make is that I would just agree that there should not be a fee for this. It is discriminatory, and just continues to perpetuate a lot of the gentrification that I've been seeing over the past 5 years. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Great, thank you. Thank you for the public comment tonight. This public hearing has been opened and will stay open for the coming week until April 13th, 12th, whatever the next April is, whatever the next Monday is in April. And at that point, we will conclude the public hearing, take additional public comment, have more questions and discussion before a final vote on this. So thank you for the issues that were raised tonight. I believe all people who had raised their hand, including Taylor, had the opportunity to give public comment. So we are going to go to the next item because this is going to stay open until next Monday. Sandra, did you have a question?
I see there's a Jesse Sankey in the attendees whose hand keeps going up and down. I don't know if they wanted to say something, if they're allowed.
Okay, I didn't see that, but did Jesse Sankey, do you want to raise your hand again if you wanted to talk? Okay, then it does keep, okay, we're just going to go ahead and take public comment. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Jesse,
can you all hear me?
Sorry to have missed you there.
Oh, that's okay.
All right, did you have public comment on this item for 3 minutes?
My name is Jesse Sankey. I live in Ward 1. I agree with everyone that spoke earlier. Everybody did touch on the notion of equity, basically. The fee is restrictive, and then the timing of the application. If you have to make a phone call to get a permit, that's only during business hours. And if somebody gets off work and they want to go practice their instrument at 4, 5, 6, who's going to be able to issue a permit? And that's one consideration. Furthering the accessibility, all of you have constituents that live somewhere around an apartment. They have neighbors above or below, next to, so they would like to go practice somewhere without disturbing their neighbor. So the public ground there, having access to that. The biggest part I wanted to point out, really, when we're talking about this type of expression, musical expression, we're talking about spirituality in a sense. You heard the speakers tonight mention goodness, connectivity, positivity, community, harboring positive community. And that does translate into being able to go and express however you spiritually express yourself. Don't want to take it as far as, but it can be akin to requiring a permit to then go pray or to express spirituality. Not everybody has access to spaces to play music as they would, so public ground. If we were to ask for permitting purposes to go express how you express and connect with your spirituality, where would that stop? It's not just music. I would like the council to understand this isn't necessarily just music that is really troubling musicians more than anybody. This is how expression is. And thank you very much. I won't carry on.
Thank you for your comments. I appreciate that. We will be concluding the public hearing on this matter on Monday, April 12th at 7 o'clock. Seeing no other public comment or questions from council. Thank you, Shirley. Appreciate the presentation. All right, our last item of business tonight is final consideration for the budget amendment. Item number 9.1. We have a resolution for second quarter FY 2021 budget amendment, amending the fiscal year 2021 budget to recognize revenues and appropriate expenditures and budget transfers not identified in the original budget. Lee Griffin presented on this both in committee and last at our prior city council hearing where we opened the public hearing. So at this point in time, I need a motion from Ms. Merritt.
Thank you. So I recommend that we adopt a resolution for second quarter fiscal year 2021 amendments to the annual appropriations for the city of Missoula, Montana, as set forth in fiscal year 2021 budget that increases the total city revenues by $1,791,347 and budgeted appropriations by $2,299,793.62 in order to recognize additional grant revenues, activities and expenses for fiscal year 2021, and incorporate expenditures and projects approved in the FY21 budget process, which were not captured in the final appropriations resolution.
Thank you. That motion is in order. Lee Griffin is available for questions if there are any questions. Not seeing any. We will go to public comment on this matter. Public comment, Mr. Larson.
Yes, this is I forget how many weeks now in a row that I've asked for a full capital asset list from the city, which has been denied to me. It's just the irony of you guys approving this while not even allowing the city and its citizens to actually fully delve into the budget is just laughable again. Like, we can only see 3 to 4% of the new additions to the budget, and we're just not even allowed to see under the hood. We can't even see a list of all the capital assets of the city because apparently we're just not. I need to have an accounting degree to see that. I'm sorry, that is utter BS. That is against state law, and it is about. Hey, please stop interrupting me, Gwen. You cannot interrupt me. This has to do with the budget, Gwen. This is utterly unacceptable. Stop interrupting, Gwen. Please stop interrupting me. I'm talking about the budget, Gwen, and now you're interrupting me.
Commenting on the budget.
Can you please allow me?
I'm
commenting on the budget, Gwen.
We're
Now,
discussing the
I will
budget.
continue commenting on the budget. We are not allowed to see the budget as citizens. Why have I not received this entire capital assets list? It very much has to do with the budget, because if I can't see and you guys can't account for all your property, then why are we giving you more money? You need to adhere to state law when it comes to citizens asking about the budget. And you need to stop interrupting when you're caught with your pants down regarding it. I'm sorry, but this is ridiculous, and I want to see the document.
Point of personal privilege. This language is inappropriate.
Okay, we can take a roll call vote on this matter because we've had public comment and there's no other public comment, and we're concluding the public hearing. So, Marty, if you could do a roll call vote, thank you.
Okay, on the motion to amend the on the budget resolution amending the budget, let's start this round with Becerra.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Harp.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Merritt.
Yes.
Ramos.
Yes.
Cheryl.
Yes.
Vasika.
Yes.
West.
Yes.
And Contos.
Yes.
Would any of you like to change your vote? That is
Anderson here. I would like to
I'm
vote
sorry,
yes.
Anderson. I'm so sorry. I'm sort of flummoxed because one of your names changed in the roll call here on my sheet, and I'm like, who am I missing? Then I missed Ms. Anderson. Anderson votes yes, so that means we have 10 ayes and 2 absent.
Thank you, Marty. I appreciate it. That matter is concluded. Item number 10 is communications from the mayor. I do not have any communications sitting in this role tonight. General comments of city council, and I'm just going to go alphabetically to let you know. So we'll start with Ms. Anderson.
Okay, thanks so much. I just want to let everyone know that there are still COVID vaccine appointments available for tomorrow, and they have expanded the hours in which vaccine appointments are available to include evenings and weekends to accommodate more Missoulians. It is now open to everyone over the age of 16, so please do your part. Take advantage of getting these vaccines. They are no cost to you. If you don't have insurance, don't worry about it. Make the appointment. It's if you have insurance, they'll bill it and take care of it that way. But do your part, get your vaccine, protect yourself, your family, your coworkers, and our community. The sooner everyone gets vaccinated, the sooner we can reach herd immunity and the safer we will all be as community. So visit covid19.missoula.co for all vaccination information, and you can sign up there. And continue to thank you so much to everyone at the Joint Task Force, the city, the county, the health department, the schools, the hospitals, and for all the work that you're doing getting Missoulians vaccinated. I am one shot in, and it was an incredibly seamless process, and it was so exciting to see so many happy vaccinated people getting their Fauci ouchies. So continue to do that, Missoula, and there are plenty of appointments available, so take advantage.
Great, thank you. Ms. Becerra.
Pass. Thanks.
Ms. Hart. Ms. Merritt.
I just want to give a shout out to Deshane Barnett, who has just been selected as our new health officer. I'm grateful that for the process that was gone through to determine a good candidate for our new health officer. And for those who are not familiar with him, Deshane has been serving as the director of the All Nations Health Center. And I'm just very excited. I think he's going to bring a lot to this position. And I'm grateful that, quite frankly, in the conditions that we're in, that anybody wants this job. But I think we got a really, really great leader. And I look forward to what he's going to do for our community.
Thanks, Julie. I'm so glad you mentioned that. Mr. Ramos.
Thank you. I just wanted to echo Ms. Merritt's comments. Deshane is a great man, and I was pretty worried about who the county was going to pick for that role, but I couldn't be happier with the choice. So congratulations to Deshane.
Ms. Cheryl.
Thanks. I want to echo that as well. Being the liaison with the Health Board, I was involved in that process, and I'm just really happy about Deshane being the selection. I think he's going to do great things. I think we're fortunate as a community to have him. And just to kind of highlight what I think Julie was saying, the interview process was intense. We set up a very, very rigorous process, which included the county commissioners, community partners, staff, of course, the health board, the city council, some city councilors. So, I mean, this was a well-vetted candidate. And as I said in the interviews at one point, I said, anyone that's gotten to this point really wants this job because it is a very long process. So thank you for bringing that up, Julie. And just to also add on to what Ms. Anderson had said, there are appointments available. I really urge everyone to get in sooner rather than later, even if you're not worried about your own health or you don't live with someone that's high risk, that's unvaccinated. We are setting community goals for vaccine numbers and keeping the case numbers low. And so the sooner we all get vaccinated, the sooner we're going to be able to keep things open and open things more. So even if you're not worried about your own health, please do it so we can keep our economy running, so we can get back to normal, because we do need to keep the case numbers low. And as my 16-year-old pointed out to me, one of the great things about getting vaccinated is that if you are a close contact, you don't have to quarantine. So that's something good to keep in mind for all our social, teenagers and 20-something-year-old.
Great, thank you. Great point. Ms. Vasika.
I'll pass, thank you.
Okay, and Ms. West.
Thanks. I just want to remind folks that the Envision West Broadway design charrettes are happening this week. There's pretty much something happening every day this week, including right now. So there's virtual design studios that are happening online, and there's also one in-person event on Wednesday from 5 to 7 at Downtown Lions Park in Western Cider. You can find out more at envisionwestbroadway.com, and I hope that lots of folks show up and participate and help envision the future of this area. So thanks.
Thank you. And last but not least, Mr. Contos.
Well, thank you. Yes, I would just like to say congratulations to Sandy Vasika, the new mom. That's exciting stuff.
Thank you for bringing that up. I'm so happy for you too, Sandy. Great news.
Everyone.
Okay. No, I think we're done with comments. Under committee report, we don't have any items, but under new business, we have the legislative update and action on bills. Were there any comments from counselors regarding that? Ms. Anderson. Wait, I'm sorry, Ms. Cheryl. Sorry.
Thanks. I just wanted to say that the Energy and Conservation team has done a great job at following any of the energy related bills. We've submitted ones that they feel after research that as a city we should be opposing, or well, most of them are opposing, to be quite honest, but that's been submitted. I do want to point out a couple of them, and I want to point them out to the public as well. Of what's going on. So there is a Senate Bill 257. This prohibits local governments from enacting fees, taxes, and penalties regarding carbon use. So I think that could have some big effects on us as a city, and of course on climate change in general. And my other one, there are a bunch of them here, so I'm not going to run through all of them because they have been submitted. But the other one that I'm particularly concerned about, although there's lots of concerning bills in my opinion, is House Bill 576, and this repeals the renewable portfolio standard. So it would repeal the RPS, and that is used to encourage jobs in agriculture and to build the rural tax base through the development and use of renewable energy. So as we try to build a more sustainable jobs, this is working against that. And yeah, there's a lot of concerning things going on. So please pay attention, please track them. Some of these have gotten out of committee, so you're not able to make public comment, but some of them are still in committee. So you have a very limited amount of time left to make your voice heard. Thanks.
Great, thanks. Any other comments on the legislative updates? Okay, seeing none, are there any new items to be referred? Seeing none, we have no miscellaneous communications, petitions, or reports or announcements. And that's the end of our agenda, so we will be adjourned. Thank you for your service. Enjoy the rest of your Monday evening, and I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday.
Thanks, Gwen.
We're adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Mm.